What's going on YouTube? This is AK and you're watching Vlogmore. And today I wanted to cover the Swiss Army knife Victorinox Hunter XT. So I decided to cover this knife because, just like with my philosophy on guns, having a common sense approach to the tools that you're using to save your life, I really felt like this tool in particular was one that was extremely important to cover for my viewers, so that y'all would have a tool that was that could be very valuable in saving your life one day, depending on your lifestyle, of course, or just be really useful in general. Now, I'm a bow hunter, so a lot of times you find yourself trying to find the best tools to field dress a deer with, in the event that you get lucky and you get to harvest one. Well, a lot of times, I carry a backpack when I go hunting, but I have seen guys out there, on public land, who they carry nothing but their bow and their daddy's pocket knife, their granddaddy's pocket knife from 1902. Right? They don't really carry much on them at all, and it seems to do them just fine. But I figure if you're a person if you're a bow hunter in particular who is a minimalist, you don't really like carrying a backpack with you, you just want to keep things simple, you should most certainly pick yourself up one of these. But I also, of course, made the video for campers and hikers as well, right? Because you want to be able to have tools on you when you're in the wilderness in general that is easy to carry and has multiple functions. So I figured that this knife would be perfect for that purpose, because you put it in your pocket, put it in a holster, and you're good to go, right? And you've got multiple tools. So for example, you've got the plain edge blade. I want to say it's like this. This is the 111 millimeter. It's like about a 3.5 inch blade. Some of the blade lengths, it seems like they do vary on the Victorinoxes. But this is the plain edge. Some of them are serrated edged as well. And I just feel like for a pocket knife, with of course the great reputation that Victorinox has, right? That Swiss Army knife has. It's a good sized blade. Right? So for field dressing deer, because this is the plain edge model, perfect for that. Some hunters will argue about, difference between drop point blades and other type of blades, but the truth is, as long as it's a sharp plain edge blade, you shouldn't have any issues field dressing your deer, right? At least field dressing it. And especially I want to say too, for campers and hikers, like for those of you who don't want to carry a really big knife out in the woods with you, I think this would be a decent size, especially for self-defense, in the event that you had to use it against medium-sized animal who tried to attack you, or even a person. It's not a little blade, it's not huge, but it's not really that small either. So I do like the fact that it's somewhat of a substantial blade for the package that it comes in. Okay, so that's really good. All right. One thing that I think is kind of wonky about this is that the release here doesn't go to, it would be, I guess, my left when I'm looking at it, right? It goes the opposite way. So like you would think that you could just flick it to the left if you're holding it in your hand, you're facing the blade, but you actually have to do it to the right, which kind of forces you to use your opposite hand to close this blade. But when you use the gut hook, it's the way that it feels like it should be on every other pocket knife, right? To the right, so that you can use it with your right hand. But this is another one of the blades that's really awesome, the gut hook. Of course, for a lot of different hunters who come across this knife, this is the selling point for them. It's extremely sharp, so you ain't got to worry about not being able to really just zip right through that deer when you first get started on it. this thing will be sharp for a really long time, especially if you just use it for the initial unzipping of the of the deer. And also too, for your campers and hikers, you can use this for feather sticking, because a lot of serrated edge blades are actually pretty good at feather sticking, to make kindle and fire and stuff like that. So you don't have to use this as a gut hook, of course. If you're a hiker, you can use it for cutting a wide array of other things. So you can come up with whatever it is that you think you could use this gut hook for. Okay, like I said, just basically look at it as a serrated blade that doesn't have a sharp tip, right? So there's a lot of things that you could use this for as a camper and a hiker. All right, so that's really useful as well. And then of course, what a lot of people say that is the superstar of a lot of these knives is the saw, and I would have to agree. So for bow hunters who want to keep things real minimalist, this is perfect for you, because let's say, for example, you only carry one knife out with you in your bow because it's your land, so you're familiar with the territory, or it's public land but it's really close to where you live, you go there all the time, you're out there 9-10 times a year for hunting season, and you just don't really feel like you need any survival equipment, no backpack, anything like that. Well, not a big deal, because you have a saw here. So let's say in the event that you're tracking a deer and you happen to get turned around in this in this area that you thought you were used to, you can use this to build a makeshift tent, or shelter rather, for whatever reason, if you can't find your way back right away, or if you wanted to start a fire because it's a little bit cold, and you decide you want to spend the night because, again, you're lost. It does happen. You have a 90-degree spine here on the saw, so it allows you to use a ferro rod right here and start a fire. So you bring this with the ferro rod in your pocket, you're good to go. All right. I know it sounds like an extreme situation, but again, you just never know what's going to happen. So the fact that this knife gives you options of, okay, well, I've got my 2 blades here for field dressing the deer itself, but I also have this saw. Of course, the reason why I'm not addressing it as a bone saw like it's advertised as is because really it's just a wood saw, but it's advertised as a bone saw. I don't see this as being that type. I mean, you could, I guess, use it for that if you wanted to, but a lot of hunters would tell you that they prefer not to use this as a bone saw. So it does, I say, primarily work as a saw that you need for wood, for an emergency situation. But if you want to use it as a bone saw, be my guest, it's there. Why not? And then, of course, there's one thing about this, that I don't really agree with being on there, is this Phillips head screwdriver. Me personally, I'm a bigger fan of the corkscrew, only because, when I've been camping, especially with my significant other, we will bring a bottle of wine, and it's good to have a corkscrew on your multi-tool to be able to pop that bottle and have a good time, right? I've never seen a use for Phillips head in the woods, so beats me why it's there. But hey, maybe to fix something on your bow, on your rifle, I don't know if you happen to have Phillips head on anything there anyway. I don't think you would, but if you did, I guess you have it. So yeah, I mean, and then of course for my hikers out there, yeah, this saw is very useful. If you get lost, you veered off the trail for whatever reason, or what have you, and you needed to build shelter, you have this. And there are videos on YouTube of people building a straight up shelter, a makeshift shelter with just this knife alone. So you can do it. Okay, it'll be rudimentary, but you can do it, and that's what's important. So I think this knife is very useful because you have multiple tools in one package. It's small. Put it in your pocket or put it in the holster that it comes with, and you know, and you're good to go. Now, really don't, you know, have much to say about the Sheath, you know, because it's a good sheath, and you know, like I said again, most of you are going to be putting this in your pocket anyway. But yeah, the Sheath is great. It's durable. It's a good sheath. So I think that, you know, you'll be fine with you being able to use it. I guess I could go ahead and show you really fast what it looks like so that, you know, you have an idea. So this is the sheath that the Victorinox comes with. It's a very sturdy sheath. And I think that, you know, it's really durable, you know. Yeah, you know, it's Velcro, but yeah, it's perfect. So I mean, if you want to use this, you can. Me personally, though, I use this Leatherman sheath that came with my Leatherman 300 Super Tool. This thing is very, very sturdy, and I just prefer it. So my Leatherman case works perfectly with this. So if I do use a sheath, it'll be in this one. It's a little bit rattly, but I'm one of those people that, you know, I don't focus on the small stuff because it doesn't really matter to me. What matters is, does it hold my knife? Great. So whether you want to use the one that it came with or another type of, you know, sheath is all up to you. You know, owner's preference. But it just makes sense, like, to carry something in a small package like this that works. Now, the last thing I want to say about this knife is, because I'm all about common sense, you know, tools on this channel for common sense viewers that can save your life, that's relatively inexpensive, you know, just but makes sense to you know, to own. I will say, if you're going to use a tool like this out in the wilderness, I would highly recommend you always bring backups, right? So like my motto is always bring 2 tools that are, of course, independent from each other. So like, because this one technically is like 4, right, in one, but I mean like 2 separate tools that you can use in the event of a survival situation that you can depend on to save your life, right? So for example, if you really are a fan of this, and you know, you're a hiker and you go deep into the Appalachian Trail, and you know, you sometimes you go off the beaten path and you just explore stuff, it's always good to have something else with this. So this, and let's say a camping saw, would be a really good idea, right? Just to have that backup. Even though there's a saw on here, you also have that other backup there if you want to make shelter or use it for whatever purposes you feel you're going to use it for. Or an even better example is this knife and, let's say, this Fiskars X7. Okay, these 2 tools together make an amazing combination, because you've got your knife for, you know, processing game, you know, maybe fish, small animals, you know, feather sticking, whittling, for your bushcraft type of, you know, activities. And then when you want to do your heavier stuff, like, you know, chopping wood, batoning, splitting, that type of thing, well, you have your hatchet for that. You know, this is a Scandinavian made a hatchet. It's got a lot of good reviews. A lot of people love it. But if you don't want this, there's a lot of other options out there too. But the point is it's always good to just have 2 type of tools with you. And for my hikers out there, you know, who do go into locations that are far off the beaten path, that, you know, it's not just your backyard where you're going, you know, you're making some really long trips and treks, but you still are a person that really don't feel like you need all that much, you know, to bring with you in terms of kit goes. Well, these 2 aren't going to take up any space. You know, you've got this in your holster, you've got this in your pack, and you're good to go, you know. And in the event that for whatever reason you do get lost, you know, or you find yourself having to make a makeshift shelter for whatever reason, you have 2 tools that are going to help you with that. You know, and even if you think that this is too big, well, lastly, you have, for example, a Bushcraft Mora Orange and your Hunter XT. So always make sure that, you know, that's just my philosophy. Have backups. You know, you can also, again, baton with this. You know, you can do a lot with this type of knife in conjunction with this. And this is even a smaller package. These don't take up that much space. So you're able to, you know, successfully have, you know, your minimal tools to be able to help you survive in the event that you need to, you know. So, I mean, this tool does pretty much everything that you'll need it to do in terms of, as long as you know the limitations of folders, right? You can't abuse a folder the way you can, you know, one of these, clearly, right? Pretty sure you guys understand that, guys and gals. But, you know, just use common sense, and this knife will take you a really long way. And I really do believe like it could end up saving your life if you need it to do that. And that's what we're all about here, is common sense tools that are relatively affordable that can save your life. And I got this one for about $42 on Amazon. If you don't want to shop there's plenty of other places that you can pick this up at. So just know that it's great, it's useful, and I think you'll love it if you pick one up. So I hope y'all enjoyed the video. I really appreciate you watching, and have a great day, and I'll see y'all soon. Peace.